Yep.
You all ready, Stephanie and Brian, to head this way where it'll be a little cooler?
I just saw that it was like 70 on the coast, and I'm like, how is that possible? Because it's like 300 degrees here.
Yeah. Yeah, here in Roseburg too. Yesterday, when I left the office, it was 108.
Wow. Yes, we are very much ready.
Yeah, I was kind of feeling a couple weeks ago, I was down in Reading. My granddaughter had a tournament and it was 107 on Saturday and 106 on Sunday. And it was, I mean, I know how miserable I was. I only can imagine how those girls felt.
Oh, well, was it softball? So it was outside or? Oh,
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I could turn on my microphone before I start talking is helpful. I'm looking, Sydney, do we have quorum? It looks like we do.
I'm just double checking right now, but yes, we do.
Cool. Well, then I think we will go ahead and get started. Hey, welcome everybody. We're here. So for those of you that I've not had the opportunity to meet, my name is Doug Denning. I serve as the director of the Oregon Youth Works Advisory Board, which is housed within the Higher Education Coordinating Commissions, or simply the HECC, Office of Workforce Investments. So yeah, a deep breath. I mean, we started this process in the fall of 2021 to get this board through the legislature and to finally get it stood up. So to get to have a meeting today for me is a huge milestone. And I'm glad we get to enjoy that all together. So I think really quickly, I just want to cover a few housekeeping items. Some of them are kind of no-brainers, but you know, hey, I'm going to spit them out anyway. So, and I'm just going to read off my bulleted list here so I don't miss one. But please be as present as you can today. And I know it's so easy to become distracted with incoming emails and text messages, and especially these virtual meetings, and especially virtual meetings that are like 2.5 hours long. It's tough. But that said, you know, we're all human. We need to take our bio breaks. We need to get water. So we'll take a break at some point, whenever it makes sense and people are turning off their cameras and aren't nodding their heads. It'll probably be a good time for a break. But if you need to do your stuff prior to that, please feel free to just do so. Please ask questions. We're building this ship as we go, and so we can answer those questions together. Just a reminder, this is a public meeting. It is being recorded, and the recording in minutes will be posted publicly. And last, but certainly not least, please accept my sincere gratitude and appreciation for your commitment and your service to be on this board. The governor appointed you all. That's pretty cool. Our executive director is on deck to welcome you. That's pretty cool. This board has really important work to do, and I'm ready to just dig in. So thank you. And with that, I'm going to turn the floor over to Ben Cannon, who is HECC Executive Director, and Julia Steinberger, who is the Director of the Office of Workforce Investments at the HECC.
Yeah, thanks, Doug, and congratulations to you for getting to this day. I'll join you in welcoming the new board members. When you mentioned bio breaks, I immediately thought of my water. I hope folks are keeping cool. I'm in a t-shirt today, which is not the norm for me, but I'm working from home and have the fan blowing, have only sort of partial AC here. I do hope that folks are able to stay comfortable throughout a hot afternoon. Yeah, so again, I'll echo Doug in expressing appreciation and congratulations for accepting the nomination of the governor and the confirmation to serve on this board. It's exciting to be part of a startup. I've helped start up several boards, including the Higher Education Coordinating Commission and others. And you have really important work to do and a really great opportunity to set the tone and set in motion the coordination and support for youth workforce programs. This has been a growing portfolio for the HECC as a result of the legislature and its emphasis on supporting youth through employment and workforce, other forms of workforce activity. And we're really excited and feel really honored to be able to administer many of those dollars and programs. And then as of today, to be able to work with a set of advisors, you, to help ensure that those programs and funding streams are coordinated and that we have clear goals and plans. And as we advocate for continued investment or more investment or changes in policy, that we're doing so in a really well-informed and well-led way. So that's how I, from a sort of at a high level, see your role in the important work of this board. It came about, and again, this is probably familiar to most, if not all of you, but again, over the course of several years, we started adding to our portfolio of programming for workforce programming for youth. We have some long-standing work, including the Oregon Youth Corps, and then we've grown other investments and activities, and it became really clear to us that rather than trying to sort of run separate advisory bodies for each of those programs and funding streams, it would make a lot of sense to organize and orchestrate and support them strategically and guide them through a single overarching board with a focus on youth and their opportunities and experiences through work. So that's why you're here again, and I join Doug in expressing real gratitude for your willingness to serve. So with that, I think I'll turn it over to Julia, who's the director of the Office of Workforce Investment at the HECC, that is supporting these programs and your board, and invite her to make some remarks of her own. Thanks.
Thanks, Ben. Good afternoon, everyone. As Ben just said, my name is Julia Steinberger, and I'm the director of the Office of Workforce Investments at the HECC. I use she, her pronouns. We are the office that supports this board, and I want to welcome you all and thank you so much for being here and for being a part of this board. I'll briefly echo some of the things that Ben mentioned. Our agency's portfolio of youth workforce development programs has really grown over the last couple of years, and I'm thrilled to have an advisory body now that will look holistically at youth workforce development and at our office's full suite of youth workforce programs. And I just want to assure you that you're all in very good hands with Doug and Ashley and the entire Oregon Youth Works program team. They're wonderful, and I look forward to continuing to work with you all, and thank you again for being here. I'll turn it back over to Doug.
Great. Thank you both. So I don't know how fast we'll move through the agenda. I built in some slush time because I wasn't sure how many questions we were going to have. So we may push through this a little quicker than what the times on the agenda were. But I'm going to mix it up just a bit here. Part of the packet that you all received, or the one that was posted online, included a copy of the House bill that created this board. It included a copy of the position description, and I'd like to go through that with you all together today. But before we move any further, we need to do introductions, and there are a lot of introductions to do today. So I thought maybe we could kick it off with the board members that have been appointed. We have two potential board members. I see they're both on that we had hoped would get appointed on the last go round, but are on deck to be presented in front of the governor this month for her consideration. So we'll have them introduce themselves as well. So I'll go in like alphabetical order by first name and just call folks out. If you wouldn't mind introducing yourself, what you do for your day job, and that could be a student, that could be an astronaut, that could be a teacher, whatever that is. Let us know what it is you do and why did you apply to be on the board. So really it's who you are, what you do, and why you're here. So we will start with Belinda. You are at the top of the alphabet.
Oh boy. Well, it's good to see everyone. And thank you. Also, Doug, for all your hard work at all of this. My name is Belinda Brown. I'm an enrolled member of the co-selected band of the Ajumawi Otsage Nation, Northeastern California tribe called the Pit River Tribe. I'm also Northern Paiute and Isleta Pueblo. I'm a tribal partnerships director with Lomacatsi Restoration Project over 8 years. I have spent 30 years in Indian country putting together youth programs and developing Indian health service programs in Oregon, Alaska, and California, and have overseen grantees in the Pacific Northwest for Bureau of Justice grants. So we're putting together OCC programs. See Hillary on here, Oregon Conservation Corps programs. Lomacatsi has been instrumental in putting a lot of that money to work over the last 2 years. And we are currently in a multi-regional agreement with the Forest Service for Indian Youth Service Corps. Our first project launched at Mount Hood this week, and we have a tribal stewards program running out in Eastern Oregon now with Oregon Natural Desert Association. So a lot of passion for youth programming. I've raised 8 children myself, Oregon state wrestlers. We have 14 state titles in our family, so I always throw that out there. I'm proud to be a wrestling mom. And I really want to continue to do this work because I know it saves lives in communities. The best practices and strategies we have for workforce education, development, and communities are really important, especially for some of our high-risk youth, rural frontier communities, and especially our tribal youth. We also run Latinx workforce training and education. So we promote the indigenous traditional ecological knowledge and all the projects we have over Oregon and California. And I also chair the Intertribal Ecosystem Restoration Partnership, which brings tribes together over Oregon and California, along with our multi-regional agreement that we've had since March with the Forest Service that allows us to do Indian Youth Service Corps projects. And then we have a master participating agreement with the National Park Service that we can work across the nation under Indian Youth Service Corps. So I'm really excited. We're pursuing right now also apprenticeship with Department of Labor for a 1-year program. And we are a partner in the Public Land Corps hiring so that all of our participants now can get 640 hours for Public Land Corps certification that gives them preference in USA jobs or federal jobs. So I'm always excited about youth programming and any way that we can help at Lomacatsi share our models, our information, funding sources. We're willing, able, and ready to do that. So thank you.
Thank you, Belinda. And you know what I should have done and didn't even think of it is I'll add one last little bullet. Not only what is your day job, but where are you from? Belinda, you covered that. So I think that was great, but I missed that. So thanks for the reminder. But I know our next one is Brian on the alphabet soup, and he's from a ways away from you. So Brian, it's all yours.
Perfect. Can everybody hear me okay? I'm at a desk that's not familiar to me, so just making sure my technology's up and working. Yeah, so my name is Brian Bond. So my day job, I am the internship coordinator for our Malheur Works student internship program. My background is in mechanical engineering, small business development, came from industry, was looking to get into the classroom, stepped right into this right in the middle of COVID when all the classrooms were shutting down. So this opportunity presented itself and it's been great. We're on our 4th cohort of students. So this summer right now we have 25 students that just graduated high school that are going through intense full-time work experience. We're providing them with professional development every week. They get paired with a mentor to get that outside guidance and kind of help, guide their development throughout the course of the summer. So we do that. I am in conjunction with the Frontier STEM Hub, so I'm part of the STEM Hub network, and we are housed within the Malheur ESD. So we kind of cover everything as far as our region over here. So doing STEM programming, so pre-K all the way through graduation. We partner with our community colleges to do programming for students, all the high schools. Personally, I'll go in and we'll do robotics, we'll do career skills, we'll do development, resume classes, interview skills, mock interviews, all sorts of different things. So kind of my passion for it is I want to see these students and kids be successful. Doesn't matter what background, we're in a very impoverished area. We're in a very rural frontier area. So it's opportunity to connect with students and help get them tied into opportunities that they wouldn't have otherwise have access to.
Thanks, Brian. I just wanted to point out too, I was born and raised in Vail over in Malheur County. And so I usually, when we get weird weather, whether it be really cold or really hot, I like to go on my app and just see, hey, what's going on in Vail? You all might break a record for a full month of over 100 degrees this year. It's just quite incredible what Malheur County is being hit with. So I hope you all stay in cool and safe, because that's nuts.
Yeah, we also have a small farm, and irrigation's critical right now. My hay's loving it, loving the heat, loving the sun. It's exploding, but yeah, we're supposed to hit 111, somewhere between 111 and 114 tomorrow. So little toasty, but not the first time we've been hot. So
appreciate you being here. Brooke, you are next.
If my face was not conveying the ickiness of that weather comments, I am a native Salemer, and I don't enjoy super hot weather, which is why I live here, or at least why I thought I lived here. I'm Brooke Brownlee. I am the manager of labor, workforce, and economic prosperity for Portland General Electric. I also am the chair of the Clackamas Workforce Partnership, the executive director of the Oregon Clean Energy Workforce Coalition, and the former chair of the Oregon Conservation Corps. So clearly I love all things workforce and people related. And I am now in the Portland area, and our PGE service territory is basically the Portland metropolitan area down to Salem. I am here because I love workforce, I love youth, and I think that allowing students to really have the opportunity to connect with potential career pathways is super important. My whole entire career trajectory changed because of an internship in college, and I wouldn't be where I am today if I didn't have that opportunity. So I truly believe that, providing equitable access so that everyone has the opportunity to explore the art of the possible is super important.
Thank you, Brooke. We will bounce to Jim.
Thank you. I'd be less nervous if I was singing. I'm totally honest with you. James Taylor, please feel free to call me Jim. I was born 3 weeks before the James Taylor put out his first album, but I do know all the hits. I come to you from Oregon Housing Community Services. I am in my second year here, the development and production lead for disaster recovery. My team is tasked with replacing upwards of 2,000 homes for folks that lost theirs in the 2020 wildfires across 8 counties in the state in about a matter of 27 days. So we are hard at work to recover those folks in their homes. And previous to that, I was at Oregon Department of Education, where I was part of the core team that helped develop and implement career-connected learning, which is active and doing great work across the state. Prior to that, a educator in the classroom, as well as a construction, ran a construction and real estate development work since my teens. I am here because I believe very much in, well, I'm going to say it's selfish. When I was in a classroom, I used to start all my classes saying, you are going to be in my life somewhere down the road, and I want you to be the best that you can be when I encounter you again. And so I've always lived into the ideal of working with kids to create a lifelong learner, somebody who's engaged in the learning process, eager to learn, and knows why they're present and why they're learning and what the possibilities and vision is that they can set up for themselves, their family, their community. With that in mind, that's why I have been very, very active in opportunities for youth, whether it was the classroom or with my construction company, or getting the blessed chance to be working in agency, and getting a chance to have this opportunity with you all to become kind of the tapestry and the puzzle masters that we can be to help support these programs in the state. So thrilled to be here, and thank you all for the chance to join you. I'm in Monmouth. I remember Doug right before I finished. I'm in Monmouth.
Perfect.
Grew up in Salem. Yep.
Thanks, Jim. Let's go to Rena.
Good afternoon. Rena Langston. I am the program manager with the Southwestern Oregon Workforce Investment Board. We are the board for Coos, Curry, and Douglas counties. I was born in Washington, but raised in Oregon, so I've lived here my entire life. This year, just passed 37 years in the workforce system. So in my history, I've been involved in youth programs throughout my career, running very large summer youth programs under the Job Training Partnership Act, then providing services under the Workforce Investment Act, and now under the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. So I oversee adult dislocated worker and youth programs with SOWIB. I previously served with Brooke on the OIC board. So excited to be here. I'm excited about all the opportunities that are opening up for youth. Over the years, programs have kind of come and gone, and I've never seen as many opportunities for youth as what we have now. So it's an exciting time.
Thanks, Rena. And then Sahas, and please correct me if I am pronouncing your name incorrectly.
No, you pronounced it correctly.
Cool.
My name is Sahas Kowinti. I'm a high school student from Beaverton, Oregon. And I just want to say I do not have the same amount of experiences as probably anyone on this call, but I do have some of my own experiences with CTSO organizations and career technical education. And one thing that I'm pretty passionate about is alleviating the achievement gap and socioeconomic inequality in regards to career building activities. And that's kind of also the reason I just decided to apply and join this board, because I saw potential in this becoming something that can truly impact youth across the state. And I'm excited to be here. So looking forward to working with you all.
Nice. Thank you. And then we have two Sydneys on the call. So I'm going to go Sydney H. Did she not make it on?
Yeah, this is not Sydney H, but I don't think she made it. I don't see her
doesn't
name on
look
here.
like it. So I'll just do a brief introduction of Sydney H. Thank you, Sydney K, for that. So Sydney, we got the opportunity to meet and work with Sydney last summer through a program. It's a summer work experience program that is run through the Oregon Commission for the Blind. And we housed Sydney and another young student as interns for a month. And it was a blast. I mean, we tried to build the program to where it would change the kids' lives. It changed ours. And Sydney just really kind of fell in love with the work that we do. And it said, you know, if I can ever have another opportunity to do something and to help again, please let me know. So when I reached out and told her that this new board was coming on, she was one of the first ones to get her application in. So you will all get to meet her at some point, but she's a lot of fun and yeah, hard worker. So it looks like, so we have two people, as I mentioned, they've applied. It's nothing is official. It still has to go before the governor. We're not seeing any red flags. So I see they're both on today. So I'd like to give them an opportunity just to say hi. Answer the same questions if you'd like, but we'll start with Davey.
Hi, I'm Davey Pearson. I'm out in Bend right now, but I'm originally from Salem. I work for Discovery Your Forest. We're a nonprofit. We partner really closely with the Forest Service. Something that Belinda was mentioning earlier, we have internship programs that if you complete 640 hours, you get a hiring authority certificate that can help with permanent employment with the federal government. And yeah, my title is Volunteer and Career Pathways Program Manager. So half volunteers, half kind of internship management. But yeah, why I'm here and excited about this is I was a non-traditional college student. I got a lot of help and encouragement along the way. So I want to be able to do that for others. And I've been in my position for about 2 years now. So it's getting to the point where I'm hearing from past interns about some of the really cool things that they're doing, and I find that really rewarding.
Awesome. Thank you. And hopefully things sail right through at the end of this month. We'll let you know for sure. And then lastly, for this group, Paola, and tell me again if I'm butchering your name, because I can't roll the tongue to get it right. So I hope it's close.
No, it's totally fine, Doug. So my name's actually spelled Paola, so Paola, but Paula's fine too. So no worries. So hi everyone, I'm Paola Escobedo Rambo, and I am from the Dalles, Oregon. I work for a nonprofit agency called The Next Door that's located in Hood River and the Dalles, and I do both locations. I am the Youth Connections supervisor. So they are what we call youth outreach workers, or YOWs, and we have them in schools, and they are a bridge and a resource for kids and families, anything from housing to academics, you name it. If we don't have that resource, we're going to find it. We're going to wrap around services with these kids and families and make sure they get the resources that they need. If it's just academic or they need someone to talk to, we have our offices. We're right there. We're there for kids, encouraging them, helping them find other avenues and options for life, that there's not just, one or the other, right? There's always a different path, and that's okay. And sometimes kids don't know about these things, and so it's super important. We also do service learning skills, and we have, which is with OICC, or wait, now it changed, right? I always forget. I'm gonna have to learn that. Sorry, I keep doing that. But we've been working with them for a really, really long time, and we have our summer youth employment program. So we have with the U.S. Forest Service. So we've been doing that. Then we have a service learning skills with high school kids that come to our camps, and they are camp counselors, and they learn. It's like their first jobs, and they learn skills and how to, be professional and all this great stuff. And it's amazing. And everything is like in full force right now. So everything's super duper crazy, but it's going. And let's see. I feel like I'm missing something. I think. Don't know. Oh, just a quick shout out to Taylor. I just want to say Monmouth, that's where I went to college. So go Wolves, Western, yay. So that's all I wanted to say. But yeah, I think I got it all.
Well, thank you. Okay, so I think next we will move on to our ex officio non-voting members. Right now, we currently have 3. I expect that will grow over time. But how about Ashley W., if you are on the call?
Hello, excuse me. I am on the call. My name is Ashley Wright. I am over at the governor's office. I'm an executive assistant for a few advisors over here, the workforce advisor. I'm also an executive assistant for Jesse Hyatt, who's the business equity manager, and then Kelly Brooks, who's the transportation advisor. It was offered to me to come and be a part of this board as a non-voting member to not only assist, but kind of put in a younger voice as well here. I'm 25 years old, so a little outside of the youth range, but I'm born and raised from Salem, currently live in Albany, so a little more south, but I deeply love this community and state and the youth around here. So I'm super excited to be a part of this and help out.
Thank you. And just a shout out to Ashley. Ashley's the one that handles the board nomination stuff. So it comes in, it goes into Workday. If we can get it out of Workday, we get it over to Ashley, and then Ashley does her magic on her end with the governor's office. Thank you for doing that for us as well. All right, my buddy Miranda.
Hi there, old pal Doug. Hi, everybody. It's so great to see you all today. It's exciting to see this happening. I am the Workforce Program Manager and at the Office of Workforce Investments. And in my portfolio, I have the Oregon Youth Works program, so OCC, OYC, the Stephanie's programs with the OYEP, and then as we're building out to ODHS programs. And then also in my portfolio, I have the Oregon Serves Commission, which includes the AmeriCorps program. So all of the youth work stuff that happens throughout the state is in my bucket. As far as my history goes, I was originally a classroom teacher in Pennsylvania, where I grew up, and taught social studies and just loved working with youth and working with kids, and realizing that my real skill set wasn't actually teaching curriculum. It was relating to youth and planning events and life coaching them through their next stages of life. And I moved to Oregon 11 years ago, I think almost exactly. And it was really hot 11 years ago in Oregon when I was moving my stuff to my second floor apartment. So hot again, here we are. I'm glad I'm not moving today. But when I first started here, I worked for Impact Northwest, which is a nonprofit in East Portland, and did career readiness work, helped kids out to establish internships. We had some really interesting funders like Daimler, and were able to get kids into paid internships. We worked a lot with work systems to get kids into the summer work experiences to build out their resumes, and worked with multiple high schools in the East Portland area, and then multiple middle schools to be able to do career readiness curriculum with kids. And from that, it led me to working as a STEM Hub director in Northwest Oregon, so 20 school districts, lots and lots of community partners, and building that foundation out led me to building an internship program in each of the 3 counties that I was working in. So I hear my friend in Malheur and Brian, Nikki, and I have a lot of discussions about what a good internship looks like in a rural location. And all this stuff just kind of snowballed into me just loving workforce development, loving economic development, and loving community development work. And I found this job at OE at the HECC, and have been here for a little over a year, and have just loved it, loved working with the team, and loved meeting the folks who are really passionate about this work. So thanks for being here. It's exciting.
Thanks, Miranda. And then Rudy Ann, I don't know if you're on the phone or maybe.
Hi, Doug. Can you all hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, hi, everybody. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Rudy Ann Rivera Lindstrom, and I am the Director of Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Accessibility at the HECC. And I'm just really excited to be a part of this continued work for our youth and our programs. And I wish I could turn on my camera right now, but I'm in the middle of supporting my parents and some things right now. So I just want to appreciate everybody joining and being a part of this new board. My heart is definitely with the youth. I am a former high school teacher and intervention specialist. So this is it's really exciting that we can continue this way. So thank you so much, Doug, and everyone.
Thanks, Rudy. I know you've got a ton on your plate today. We were just discussing it earlier, so I really appreciate you being able to take the time and make the effort to join us. All right, so we're getting close to being done with introductions, folks. We still now just have the Oregon Youth Work staff introductions. And then after we do that, as the agenda says, we'll do a little bit of a, I think it just says the handouts, but we'll do a little more of a formal presentation. So I don't know, I mean, maybe our names, position, what brought us to this work. I mean, whatever you all want to share, but we'll go to Ashley. Oh, you were at the top.
Hi, everybody. I'm Ashley. I'm very new. This is my 4th week at the HECC. I live down here in Jean, but I'm from Sacramento. Last spring, I graduated from the University of Oregon with a psychology degree. I have a lot of experience from when I was younger, late teens, early 20s with the Conservation Corps, which really helped me, especially because I'm a non-traditional student, and being a part of these programs actually helped me become the first person in my family to graduate college. And now I'm here. So I stumbled across this job. I'm super happy to be here. I feel like I'm in an agency that aligns with my passion and desire to just help foster youth development and provide opportunities that are sometimes restricted or hard to, accomplish. So I'm just happy to be here. Nice to meet you all.
Thanks, Ashley. Brian.
Hi, everyone. Brian Neese, Workforce Programs Analyst for the Office of Workforce Investments within the HECC. What brought me to this work could probably fill a 3-hour meeting by itself, so I'll try to be pretty quick about it. But out of college, I thought I was going to be a business person. I opened up a small business, small meaning myself, and a little brick and mortar back when those were a thing. And I decided that I wanted to hire someone that potentially maybe had a disability or a developmental disability, someone to come in I could train and teach, because there wasn't a lot going on, honestly, because the business was really small. And I could not figure out how to do that. I think Google had only been around a few years. It wasn't as simple. I just didn't know. And it really kind of bothered me that I couldn't do it. It wasn't anybody's fault other than the knowledge wasn't there. So when the internet matured and took away all my customers, I had the opportunity to start to work with those underserved populations that I was interested to begin with. And, that opportunity led to working with low-income parents, older workers, female justice-involved adults, injured workers, all these populations. And I just really fell in love with helping to provide them resources and opportunities that otherwise they really didn't have a great chance to find on their own. And the connections that I've been able to make have really just made this work just so incredible for me. And now it's youth, and they honestly, other than older workers, kind of fall into those same demographics that I've worked with before. They could be any of those. So this board is really exciting to me to bring all this knowledge and expertise together to see what can be done to further those opportunities for youth.
Thanks, Brian. And I guess I won't let myself off the hook because my name comes next, and I was considering skipping it. But I've done a partial introduction. My name is Doug. As I mentioned, I'm from Vail. The summer of 1986, I was on a Youth Conservation Corps crew on the Wallowa Whitman, based out of Unity, Oregon. I didn't know it was a YCC crew. I thought I just had this really cool summer job where we got introduced to all these cool projects, and we did something different every week. I now know that I was part of something much larger. I'm still in communication with 2 of those Corps members, and I remember the projects like it was yesterday on some of the stuff that we did. So I knew that that job was very impactful. Kind of like Brian, I thought I was going to go into business administration. I tried a few things, went into sales, didn't feel right. Actually got fired from a job that was sales, and then got hired as a jobs retention specialist with DHS to teach people not how to get fired. And I think the only reason I got the job is I had really relevant experience, and so I could share that with folks. And right then and there, I mean, there was an OICC program. So in the year 2000, I became introduced to formally OICC, and haven't been able to get rid of me yet. So I'm still here. This is my passion. This is a huge part of who I am. So Hillary.
Sorry, I'm still not over you being a salesperson. It's a really funny thought to me.
Well, I wasn't very good, which is why I got the axe.
Thank goodness. Thank goodness. I'm glad we got you instead. I'm Hillary Blackstone. My title here is Youth Program Specialist with the Oregon Youth Works team. I am from Boise, Idaho originally. I've been here for about 2 years. And what brought me to the work is I was also in the more traditional path of education and thought I was going to be a middle school teacher. And then through some really fortunate job shadowing experiences, I was able to learn that what I also really liked about the idea of teaching wasn't curriculum, but it was connecting with the young people that needed the most help and needed help navigating resources or utilizing the resources that were out there. So I went into some nonprofit work with the Boys and Girls Club and had also worked for the state of Idaho with the State Department of Education for 21st Century Community Learning Centers, which is all about after school time, out of school time programming. So that's primarily summer programming, but it's also before and after school care, which really just helps support young people and their families to get, healthy meals, access to mentors, positive supports and resources that they need as they grow up. And then, taking me back closer to my original thought of middle school, came into the workforce side of things. Again, like the idea of helping young people navigate resources and find viable opportunities. And if I can shake up the system and make it easier, I'm going to do that. That's me.
Thanks, Hillary. Jeremy, we'll bounce it to you.
Thanks, Doug, and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jeremy Ahla. I'm born and raised out of Astoria, Oregon. For the last 19 years, I've been a public steward for the state. First 11 years as a park ranger. That's where I was introduced to Oregon Youth Conservation Corps. I used to bring porta potties and outhouses and toilets and all the things that Doug needed to set up his canoe trips on the Willamette River. And so that's where I was first introduced to this program. And at that time, I was going through a little bit of a thought about what I wanted to do for the rest of my career, and an opportunity became available. And I applied with Oregon Youth Conservation Corps in a job rotation, and have been with that program as the grant administrator for the last 8 years. And it's not the reason I came to the state, but it's the reason I stay with the program, because it's a really powerful and meaningful program, in my opinion. And I'll share a little bit more about it later. So it's a pleasure to meet you all. And thanks, Doug.
Thanks, Jeremy. Matt.
Hi all, my name is Matt Collins. I am with the Office of Workforce Investments in the youth team. My position title is Oregon Youth Works Program Coordinator. So that means I get the fun joy to get to bounce around the different programs and just kind of play parts where I can. Primarily, I typically work with Jeremy with the Oregon Youth Corps. But it's always a fun, exciting task when I get to check out some of the other programs and see where I can best help out there. For what brought me to this line of work, it's definitely kind of one of those stories where I, born and raised in Oregon, I lived in Albany and grew up in Albany my whole life. Went to community college and got an associate's degree, ended up going to Western Oregon for my bachelor's, but never really sure where exactly my path was going to go. I had interest in jobs such as a juvenile probation officer, social worker for youth, but I wasn't ever sure that that was the right exact fit for myself. And then just job-wise, I bounced around a lot as well. I worked retail as in a sales role, in a merchandising role, worked at a local newspaper place for a little bit, just kind of got a lot of different experiences there. And after graduating from Western Oregon with my bachelor's, I was really excited to get a state job because I had majored in public policy and administration. And I ended up getting a office specialist role at the Office of Workforce Investments with the HECC. And at the time, I didn't know anything about the youth programs that were offered here. It wasn't my job at the time to go inside this type of work. But I got to meet everyone. I got to meet Jeremy and Doug and see what the Oregon Youth Corps was about. And I started telling my management, that sounds amazing. I want to do some more work there, and I want to kind of get some projects there whenever that's open. That managed to tie in with the legislation that was bringing on Oregon Conservation Corps and kind of establishing the Youth Works at its early kind of age. And so I got to help out there and just kind of got to work with it and get into the role that I have now. So it's really a neat thing for me to be able to say that now I get to actually do work that helps impact youth and shape those lives. I'm a father of a 1 and 3-year-old. So their futures are super important to me, and it's making me super mindful of everyone, every youth and child's future as well. So it's just a great spot to be in, and I'm super excited to meet everyone. So thank you for hearing my introduction.
Thanks, Matt. Steph, you're up.
All right, and I think I'm bringing us home. So I will try and keep this short because that's a lot of introductions that you just heard. So I'm Steph Solomon. I am a youth workforce program analyst within the Office of Workforce Investments. And what brought me to this work, honestly, it was people that cared about me, that saw something in me and that referred me and said, hey, you should apply for this. You should apply for this. You're really good at this. You should try this. And I think without those people in my life, I would not have been here. Because I started off in project management. Not quite sure why, but I had a knack for it. Coworker said, you should apply for higher ed. You should go to this college. I'm working there. I love it. I applied and I got it. Worked there for 9 years, worked with amazing people, worked with veterans, and that really just got me going with wanting to serve those that serve others. And then from there, it was, hey, you're doing great work at this school. You should apply at the state and continue to work with veterans. So I did. I applied with the state, and I got that work with working with VA and the Post 9/11 GI Bill and serving veterans across the state. Then, as fate would have it, our funding dried out. Was moved to a different agency, and so I was then able to have the director at the time, Karen, said, hey, you should come work for me. I see something in you. So I came over and I worked with OE. And I've been there ever since. And I've been able to work with the Oregon Serves team, the Workforce Talent Development Board, as well as the Oregon Youth Works team where I am now. And so it really is just people seeing something and saying something that helped me get to where I am. And so I hope that I'm able to do that in whatever way or capacity I can at the state. And maybe serving with you all in that capacity would be an absolute pleasure. Right, Doug, that's me.
Thank you, Steph. We have one last one who's not officially a member of our team, but she used to be a member of our team. But Sydney Kay is with us today as she's helping to onboard and train Ashley into her new role. So I want to give a shout out to Sydney. Oh, you're going to let you off the hook. All right. Love it. That was a lot of introductions, Steph. You are correct. And the programming is just really expanded. As Ben and Julia touched on a little bit ago, just the progression, really from going from a little federal program and one state funded program to quite a portfolio. If you go back, I think 2019 anyway, it was Jeremy and we were the youth team for our Office of Workforce Investment. So that just shows the amount of growth that we've had in 4 or 5 years. Our budget went from a state funded budget of like 2.1 million to over 23 million. So we've experienced a lot of growth, and it's been awesome. And we've got a really cool team. A lot of times you end up really not liking your coworkers, or you're part of a group that's not very productive. And this group is extremely productive. And so it's a pleasure and an honor to work with all of you. That said, maybe we can get through just the slide presentation, and then we can take a bio break if people would like one. But Sydney, if you wouldn't mind pulling that up. All right, so we can go to the next slide, please. So I'm not really going to repeat this. You've already kind of heard this through people's introductions, through Ben, through Julia. But basically, the Oregon Youth Works is just this umbrella of different youth workforce development programs that are all housed within the Office of Workforce Investments. So if you want to kick over to the next one, Sydney, please. So this presentation is kind of a hybrid. This is something that Brian and Steph put together. They took it on the road. It was a lot longer than this. Some of that stuff didn't really apply. It was more focused towards local workforce boards. But Steph said, hey, could we modify this and use it at the board meeting? I'm like, absolutely. So that's what we did. And this is one of the slides, and it talks about you all. And we'll talk about it a little more too when we talk about of the position description and statute and stuff, but it's mandated in state law that you all represent one or more of these categories. And it's tribal communities, forestry or wildfire sector. It's underrepresented communities, local workforce development boards, communities at high risk of wildfire exposure, natural resources sector, and then other workforce sectors that are experiencing high demands. As you all know, because you've been appointed by the governor, this is a governor appointed board. The minimum number is 7, so we're squeaking by today. Maximum number is 12. So maybe the next slide. So this slide's kind of cool. So everything that everybody just said as far as the Oregon Youth Works staff, these are the programs that you just, for the most part, heard about. But we're going to go into a little bit more detail. I don't think there's really any need for me to read these off, so we'll just pass it on to Jeremy with Oregon Youth Corps.
Thanks, Doug. Oregon Youth Corps, 1987, the legislature decided to bring on a program at that time called the Oregon Youth Conservation Corps, emulated very similarly to the past of the Civilian Conservation Corps, but more with an Oregon-based twist, really with a heavy focus around public benefit, building up work ethic in individuals, working with vulnerable populations who need some skill building in workforce development. Over the years, the program did change its name to Oregon Youth Corps. What we ended up finding out was that the projects were still happening, but the major work was in individuals and helping them at a very young age learn about themselves, learn about their community, and learn about their impact that they could potentially have on their upward trajectory. And so today the program has a goal to serve local youth and local community programs and local projects in all 36 counties with one of 2 different types of emphasis. One is educational attainment, so utilizing workforce programming, but intermixed with educational attainment and academic attainment. So we see a lot of programming happening with alternative education schools, charter schools, programs who help support folks who are on a GE, general education diploma track or high school equivalency track. And then the other focus is around paid work experience programs where skill development is the primary benefit. What's really neat about this program is the age range predominantly, even though it's 13 to 24, is almost at an 80 or 90% rate where it's high school youth or high school age youth in their first job experience. And so we're seeing a lot of folks at the very beginning of their career have access to opportunities across the statewide footprint and helping one, earn a little bit of money, but also help gain some skills and awareness around what's going on in their community and how they can be helpful assets as they find opportunities in their community or what potentially they want to do in their future. The other aspect that we're starting to do now outside of the grant process is the other half of our goal in the geographic footprint is to partner with each of the 9 federally recognized tribal sovereign nations in Oregon. And that's a new aspect that we're starting to integrate into the planning aspects of how we create access. And that's through mutual goal development and partnership development with each of the 9 tribes and putting in this co-developed opportunity that meets and aligns with both of our mutual developed goals. And so it's a really foundationally neat program. It really does fill your bucket as far as going out and seeing young people in their first opportunity, learning and talking about their experiences and seeing where they ultimately go and what they want to do and how they plan to get there in a very short amount of time typically. And so this is one of many great programs that we have not only within our youth portfolio, but seen across the state. Happy to do this work and to continue to do this work and fight for this work because it provides the public benefit, it provides the great stories, and it provides an opportunity for access for folks who otherwise might not have that in their community. And so that's Oregon Youth Corps in a really high level overview. I'm sure we'll dive into more details as the story goes on, but for today's purposes, I'll transition it over to the next slide.
Great. That brings me from the most senior program to the newest as of yet. We'll see what happens with the ODHS things. I am the grant administrator for Oregon Conservation Corps. This Conservation Corps was created with Senate Bill 762 in 2021, part of the omnibus bill. The main goal of Oregon Conservation Corps is to reduce the risk of wildfire by doing fuels reduction projects within the WUI, the Wildland Urban Interface. And in doing that, help to create fire adapted communities, which includes education and community engagement, and then really engage youth and young adults in workforce training. So it is a very project-based work. There's a lot of tracking of not only the participants, but also the sites that they're able to treat and the work that they're able to accomplish. We have seen some really amazing community partnerships and engagement through all of the Oregon Conservation Corps grantees. Belinda knows how much work has really been done over a very short amount of time and how much the program has continued to support young people. The Oregon Conservation Corps is also the one program within our portfolio that goes up to age 26. So we really recommend 16 to 26. As far as our general participation, as Jeremy alluded to, we see the bulk of people at like 18 to 21 most likely. So a little higher age range than his folks. But part of that is that there are bully restrictions and a lot of considerations for folks that are under 18 years old. Not that there isn't still a lot of work that they can do, but they kind of want to start at the hand stuff that they can get done, piling, all that, and then move up and quickly progress into operating chainsaws, getting some of their certifications so they can continue on in other workforce opportunities or other work opportunities. I'll try to keep it short and just say that.
All right, you can go to the next slide, Sydney. Oh, whoops, back one. Excellent. All right, so I have the next four, so I'll be talking here for a minute, but I will try and go fast. Because again, I'm not a big talker and I'm tired. So for the Oregon Youth Employment Program, again, this one, similar to OCC or Oregon Conservation Corps, it kind of came to life in 2021. So it is a new program, but it's stuff that is work that the local workforce boards, staff, and service providers have been doing. But it provides a lot more flexible funding to serve youth participants and provide really opportunities across the state in any sector and industry that the youth is interested in. It's not tied to the local, their local state plan with those sectors identified. It's anything that the youth want to do. The service providers are able to do it, and they do it within a way that provides skill training, paid work experience, of course, and that provides their career and youth development. This program is ages 14 to 24, and we see a wide variety of youth in that space. I think most are probably around 16 and up, but there is some opportunity that the service providers are able to do for 14 to 15-year-olds. Next slide. This one, the ODHS, or the Oregon Department of Human Services, TANF, Temporary Assistance for Needy Families, Youth Employment Program, started off as a summer youth work program and now expanded to a year-round program. Again, this is also providing funds to the program staff at the local workforce boards to their service providers to work in cadence with the districts, the ODHS districts across the state, to serve youth in the jobs program. And so that's teen and teen parents. Again, providing work experience and a lot of occupational skills and career development. This age range really varies depending on if they're a teen or teen parent, but the age range is 16 to 24. And then I will go on to the next one, which is also within ODHS. This one is brand new and it is launching fall of 2024, expanding our partnership with our friends at ODHS, or again, Oregon Department of Human Services. This one is really focusing on current and former foster care youth and young adults, and providing through serving with the local workforce board staff and service providers paid work experience. The boards and program staff, they know how to do this, and so we partner with them to get this work experience out to them as quickly as we can, and that age range is very similar. It's 14 to 23. And last but not least is Title I WIOA, or the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act. I have the opportunity to work very closely with Brian Neese, who introduced himself earlier in this space, where this program is probably the largest and most well-known. It has changed names many, many times over the years with each reauthorization. But again, this one provides a comprehensive opportunities for employment education related services to youth in all the local communities across the state who really face some pretty severe barriers. The local workforce boards and service providers have a lot of reporting that has to go along with this for in-school and out-of-school youth. I'm happy to kind of share some of those dashboards and whatnot with you all if you're ever interested. And we also have Rena, which is really fortunate. We have Rena from SOWIB here as well on your board, which will provide a great opportunity and resource in that space. In the WIOA Youth, there are 14 program elements that the service providers offer and work within serving youth. And again, this age range is 16 to 24. So there's definitely a common thread throughout all of our programs within that age range. I think that's all I'll say for now. So I guess, Doug, back to you.
Thank you, everybody. Are there any questions about the different programs? While we're right here, we can pause and answer anything. Not seeing hands. I don't have a full screen either, so okay. Belinda.
Doug, I'm gonna jump in. I'm sorry, Jim Taylor. Recurring theme, barriers to, right? So that's kind of an eagerness. Oh, I'm sorry, Belinda, I stepped on your hand raised there. Okay,
Go
my
ahead.
apologies. Barriers to, like eliminating, reducing, getting rid of this recurring theme. Is that going to be part of our work, hopefully collectively?
Yes, a big
That
part
wasn't
of
a
it.
complete question, but yes.
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying or asking. Yeah, we're going to talk about it here in a little bit, really about the purpose of the board and what is the work of this board moving forward. So that is a big piece of it, Jim. So I appreciate you flagging it. And then Belinda.
What do all of those programs look like as far as the budget goes? Are they all looking pretty good? Are we pivoting? What does the lay of the land look like?
So I wanted to cover that in a little bit too when we talk about kind of the charge of this program or of this board and where the programs are at. But I can jump in right now and just answer that. I think it's not great, Belinda. It's we're OYEP, the Oregon Youth Employment Program. It'll get a little bit of a bump, but it's really not a true reflection of what inflation has done over the last 2 years, but it'll get a little bit of a bump. So it's kind of stable funding, if you will. Oregon Youth Corps, again, they're not going to get much of an inflationary bump. Oregon Youth Corps is going to lose federal funding. That was part of the different pandemic stimulus packages. Those programs are starting to sunset out. So there's going to be a need to backfill those investments that have been made over the last few years. Oregon Conservation Corps is the one I'm crying over. I think a few of us are crying over. It's not been included in our agency's requested budget. And we can go into what all that means later. But it's a $10 million funding ask that we're not going to be able to ask for. So we'll have to figure out how do we work around that, because we have to be very careful with lobbying. You all have to be very careful with lobbying as part of being a public you're not really a public employee necessarily, but you're in a public position when you represent this board. So there's a lot of training we're going to have to go through and make sure that we're staying in alignment with what we can and can't do and what we can and can't say. But that's a heartbreaker. WIOA actually got a little bit of a bump this year, is my understanding. So, and then the programs, the other programs with the DHS, you know, I think they probably fluctuate. Some of that's federal money, some of it's state money. I'm not sure really where the foster care lands. So.
Thank you, Doug.
Yeah, thanks for the question. Ashley, it looks like your hand is up. Ashley O.
Oh, I was just going to let you know that there was a couple questions in the chat.
Oh, okay, thank you. I'll open it. So yes, Brooke, they absolutely will. That was kind of a last minute addition. So they'll be part of the public record and they'll be posted. Governor appointed board must be in alignment with the governor, correct? Well, yes and no. I mean, the board could probably go against the governor, the governor's, what I want to say, will or agenda, but the governor can also remove board members. So I think it gets tricky. It becomes a little bit political. We'll have to work with the governor's office and the governor the best we can. But it's just it's a tightrope we walk. Anything else? And Robin, I appreciate you jumping in there on the chat. So we didn't receive anybody signing up for public comment, but Jeremy was kind of tracking the attendance log and who was on and who wasn't. And there are a few people, we've got a little bit of time or ahead of time on the agenda, but there are a few program folks, such as Robin, that are on the call today. And if they'd like to take a minute and have any public comment and say anything, I would invite that you turn on your camera or raise your hand and we'll give a few minutes, but no pressure. There's no requirement to. Yeah, Robin.
Hi, I'm Robin Brand. I'm the policy analyst for vocational rehabilitation in the Central Administrative Office, and I didn't really come here to provide a public comment. I did want to note that vocational rehabilitation is also responsible under WIOA for serving people as part of the workforce. And we have 15% of our budget that is dedicated towards serving youth with disabilities. And of course, we always want to see them to be part of any underserved population that is addressed by workforce programs. So thanks, I appreciate being here.
Thank you.
I am also not here for public comment. I am the youth program coordinator for Eastern Oregon Works. My name is Lindsay Arnson. So I wasn't introduced or anything. I guess I was just here to kind of learn about everything. I guess I don't know if I'm supposed to be here or not, but I am just here learning. I was hired in January, so I was just listening in, but that's all I'm here for. So that was everything.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Again, no pressure. We just had a little time and wanted to offer a spot for just a courtesy microphone if anybody wanted to say something. So I'm not seeing any other hands. Well, since I'm not seeing any more hands, I don't know about you all. I'm in favor of filling up my water bottle. How about, it's 2:09 on my computer. Why don't we take 10 minutes, 11 minutes, come back at 2:20, and we'll kind of pick up now that we've gotten through the introductions, we'll pick up with what are you all going to be tasked with over the next few years. See you then. Well, I'm not sure how many people are back and just don't have on a camera, or if people are still going to meander in. So give it just a few more seconds and I think we'll jump right in. Well, let's get back to it. Miranda and I were just kind of chatting during the break too, just of the importance of really setting this foundational background for everyone, of who everybody is and where we come from, and before we kind of dive into what the work is. So we could take probably a full meeting to talk about what the work is. So today is really kind of that introduction. It's already been an hour and a half almost of a lot of listening, some talking for everybody, but a lot of listening. Too much talking for me. I'll be glad when we have a chair and I don't have to narrate the entire time. I'm being selfish. But I wanted to talk about the position description and the statute. And what was included in the packet was a copy of House Bill 3563. I'm not going to go through the nuts and bolts of that document. It would probably just put us all to sleep. The important pertinent parts really have been put into the position description. But again, it was House Bill 3563 that was passed. It became a part of a state statute, which is ORS 660.320. And it's funny, I'll share at my own expense. When I came to Salem in 2005, I had no idea what an ORS was. I thought it had to do with something about getting a parking ticket or getting towed, because everywhere I saw a metal sign that said you can't park here, there was like this ORS at the bottom. And so I found out quickly in my new job that it's a lot bigger than that. So for those that don't know, ORS is Oregon Revised Statute, and then they have a chapter, and then they have like a subsection. So this would be chapter 660, number 320. Whenever we talk about a state statute, a statute, or an ORS with some numbers and periods behind it, we're talking about state laws. So what happens is that you have to have a bill. The bill will either create new state law, or the bill will modify or amend state law. So 3563 made an amendment and put this, I'm sorry, my screen is going wacko here. Anyhow, it authorizes this board. So the position description itself, really, it kind of goes over just our agency at a super high level. I mean, there's 9 offices within the Higher Education Coordinating Commission. The Office of Workforce Investments is one of those. The Oregon Youth Works umbrella portfolio, we've already talked about, kind of fits. It does fit within that Office of Workforce Investments. And it's tricky to know how much to talk about today or not. The workforce and education systems in Oregon are really complex, and I'm trying to figure out how we get folks that are new to the system up to speed, and how do we put together a really nice refresher for folks that have been doing this for a while. So we may have to do some public lunch and learns. I'm not sure. If folks have ideas, please reach out. There's just so much to cover. I mean, we'll cover some of the parts of workforce and education systems in future meetings, but there just isn't enough meeting time really to absorb everything that needs to be absorbed. So for today and what's in the position description, it's just that real high level. This is the HECC, this is the Office of Workforce Investments, and this is Oregon Youth Works. So then it goes on to talk about statutory mandates. Like I said, I'm not going to read through all of them. I am going to read bullet by bullet on a few of them here. The statute directs the advisory board to meaningfully advise HECC and OE on topics included but not limited to career-connected learning that provides learners with career awareness, exploration, preparation, and training in connection with professional and industry-based expectations, the development of career pathways, youth education programs, workforce development programs, rural workforce needs, and workforce issues that are affecting underrepresented communities. It also goes on and talks about what the board makeup or the representation should look like. And we covered that in the slide, and that was the slide with the cool circle graph. So Jim was kind of asking a little bit earlier, just about the barriers that are out there, and what are we going to be doing? What is this group charged with? So I think I want to start with being just very clear with what this board is not, because that just makes it kind of an easy launch pad to what it is. So what it is not is it's not a rubber stamping entity. This is a board where we want folks to roll up their sleeves and get things done, and we take that very seriously. And I think just knowing that you have representation from the governor's office and our executive team on this call today reinforces that we put a great emphasis on the importance of this board. This board won't be involved in detailed program administration. That's staff's responsibility. And this board serves in an advisory capacity. It doesn't have any signature authority to commit the HECC to any agreement, financial or other. But what it is, and I'll read these last three bullets, and this might be the last time I'm just reading bullets to you, but really the purpose of this advisory board is to provide equity-minded advice on and oversight of the implementation and alignment of youth workforce development programs. It's to contribute to the development, the refinement, and the execution of Oregon Youth Work Strategic Framework, and to promote and advocate for the financial and programmatic sustainability and advancement of youth workforce development programming within the HECC Office of Workforce Investment. So really, our vision for this board is to work through the issues, the global issues across the state. It's not to get down in the weeds and do grant administration, but it really is. We hope that folks will really get fired up and help advocate for funding, help align, do that alignment, help remove barriers, as Jim was talking about. And we're going to move into the strategic framework here in a minute, and it will detail some of those things for you. But really, there's a lot of work to do. I mean, you've heard our current funding is not sustainable. We still have so many silos in workforce development just with youth, just within our office, let alone with other agencies. And that's why the partnerships with ODHS are so important, to make sure that we aren't duplicating services, that we are working together and supporting each other. And so we're going to need your guidance and expertise to help get us there. So that's the purpose of the board. I wish I could spit out what Ben did off the top of his head about the purpose of this board, because I thought it was very eloquent. I might actually have to go back and listen to the recording and write it down. So I'll stop and see. Again, that's super high level. We're going to move into the strategic framework here in a few minutes, but in a nutshell, that's kind of covers the job description. So if there's any questions on that, let's have them, and then if not, we'll move on. Okay. So I think the next thing on the agenda is the bylaws. So we drafted a fairly boilerplate set of bylaws, and I'm hoping folks had a chance to read through them before today's meeting. It would be so cool if we could get them adopted today, even if there were just a few minor tweaks and we could adopt with amendments. But if not, if there's more substantial work that needs to be done on the document, then let's take the time and make sure that happens and bring it back for the next meeting. But regardless of whether or not we go through the whole thing and just everybody's like, hey, this is great, or not, we do have a very important piece of this that we do have to decide today for certain. And it's on page, I think it's page 3, Sydney, maybe? No, page, yes, it was, sorry. Right there, officers. So this was drafted with the model of having a chair and having a vice chair. That doesn't need to necessarily be the way this goes. We could also, or you could also, have 2 co-chairs. In my mind, what the difference between the two is when you have a chair and a vice chair, the chair is responsible really for working with me on the agenda, probably testifying in front of the legislature, attending different meetings. The vice chair is there to fill in when the chair is unable to or unavailable to. If you have two co-chairs, they can share that responsibility and bounce it back and forth. And I think, and I could be wrong, but I think it's a little less commitment if you go with the two co-chair route versus a chair who's going to have a lot more on them all the time with a vice chair. So I'd love to open it up for discussion to see where you all would like to go with that, because we're going to have a vote on officers here in just a few moments. Any thoughts either way? Ricketts? Go ahead, Brooke.
Just for clarity's sake, we have to amend the bylaws if we want to allow a co-chair model. Is that what I'm hearing you say? I just want to make sure I was understanding.
Right. Yeah. So we would have to amend it to say co-chairs. That's not a major issue. And again, if there are other things that need to be tweaked in those bylaws, we'll just put them on hold for now. But we do need to get the executive leadership positions filled so that we can move on and do business. It's not ideal, but it's hard to know which is the cart and which is the horse sometimes.
Jim,
Jim.
are
Does
you
anybody
talking?
want to be chair?
Apologies for that. Not answering that question. I was gonna, sorry, hit the wrong mute button. Doug, I'm a fan of the co-chair approach. And I think with this board, with the opportunity to magnify the voice of the board, a co-chair approach would be very valuable in reaching more and getting more work done, quite possibly. I think it also honors the broad scope of the humans on the board. Would be a nice way to think of it as well.
Thank you. Any other thoughts? And Melinda, I did catch your question, and we're going to head there here in just a quick second. Any other discussion on co-chairs versus chair, vice chair?
I like Jim's comments.
Agreed.
Nice. That'd be my recommendation too. So unless there's any objection, I'll stop to see if there is. We will move forward with a co-chair model. So that's awesome. So we know we need to amend the bylaws for that. Did folks have a chance to read through this and give it any, some deep thought about what it looks like? Or do we need to make that kind of an assignment for our next meeting to go through and have a Google Doc or something where folks can all get on and make some tweaks? Is there any thoughts on that before we move into the elections? Just so we tidy up the bylaw piece.
So you're proposing that we get a Google Doc of the bylaws and then make any changes that we see should or could possibly be made?
I threw it out there as an option because I don't know if folks, and if you read it, it might have been 3 weeks ago or something when you read it and not really ready. So that would be my recommendation today, but certainly open to however you want to proceed. Brooke, go ahead.
I think I answered my own question on the conflict of interest board member. I thought I had seen that in there and I went back and looked. I guess my one question is where their vote is necessary, a board member's vote is necessary who has a conflict of interest in order to take official action. Do we feel like that effectively addresses the issue that we had? Because we had this conflict of interest issue with the Conservation Corps. So I just want to make sure that that's my one flag, that we make sure like we feel comfortable that we've addressed the challenges that we had the last time around.
I think we have, Brooke. I hope we have. And And we've gotten further guidance too from the Ethics Commission. And it's really interesting the way that the law is written on what constitutes a conflict. And it really boils down to, can you financially benefit from a decision that you'd be voting on? And there's a difference if you're an executive director being paid by a nonprofit or if you are on their board. The board is not being paid, the executive director is, so there's a distinction between the two. So I think the language is there, and we will. It's going to be one of those lunch and learns, or it's going to be on the next agenda to really talk about what does that mean, along with a lot of other processes. So I hope that answers your question, Brooke, or puts your mind at ease.
Yeah, that was the only thing that I wanted to make sure everything else looked okay to me.
Jim.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, conflict of interest. I think we all represent so many different things that it could be a very heavily laden conflict of interest board, because we have so many programs that we're either engaged with in those tendrils. So look forward to that conversation. My question is related to kind of subcommittee work. I noticed there's just a single bullet point calling out for the setting of subcommittees. But is there a sense that will be, as I've witnessed with other boards and other work, really the gears working for this group?
I think so. I hope so. And again, we'll see where you all take this. But I can really see there being a lot of partnership work on a subcommittee between this board and the state's Workforce and Talent Development Board, as well as just bringing in. Right now, we're doing a forestry workforce study where the WTDB, two of their members are co-chairing this subcommittee that is acting in an advisory group to hire a contractor to do a workforce study in forestry and forest products across the state. And then it brought in all these other experts from the field that aren't part of the boards, but it's underneath that umbrella of the board working. So I would love to see it morph into something similar to what WTDB is doing, but right now it's just kind of early to tell, and there's a placeholder. And that's the thing too, these bylaws can be changed. We don't have to change a statute. We don't have to do additional rulemaking. We can change them as they need to change as the board grows. Any other questions? Because if I'm understanding or hearing right, sounds like there's support to we'll go ahead, and it probably won't be a Google Doc. It'll be a SharePoint doc that we'll get out for folks to look at and play with, and we'll set some dates around when we'd like to get that feedback back by, and we'll get it out to you all. So if there's no further conversation, we get to do the fun part now. Elections. So I'd sent out an email a while back asking folks just to kind of think about it. I don't know, it was 1 or 2 weeks ago, to see if there were folks interested in being in a leadership role on this board. And then if you're interested, please reach out. I have visited with 2 people who do have interest. That's Brooke and Jim. We had conversations about what that means, what that time commitment looks like. I was thrilled because I think, their experience with just how the legislature works, their experience working in the private sector, their experience dealing with state government and working with state government or within state government is great. I mean, I think that would be a cool duo. I didn't hear from anybody else. That doesn't mean that other people couldn't put their name in the hat, but those were the 2 that I visited with. So I guess the question is, if there are others that would be interested, speak now. We'll figure out how to sort all that out. And if not, I'll just pause. Belinda.
With Jim and Brooke having shown that interest already, I don't know if you'd make a motion, but I would make a motion to accept or nominate them as co-chairs.
Great. Is there a second from anyone?
I'll second that.
Okay. Is there any opposition to that? Then I think the motion stands, and congratulations to Brooke and Jim. Thank you for your willingness to help lead this group and to help corral me and herd me around where I need to be herded. So that's great.
I was just going to note that that was very creative on Belinda's part of just like transitioning into, oh, and I hear these two people, let me elevate them. That was nice, Belinda.
This is not Belinda's first rodeo.
And
okay.
thank you both. There's work ahead. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you for entrusting us. Very grateful.
We are working right through it here. I think we're going to be done early, which is nice. All right, yay. So we're making progress through the agenda. Now that we have some executive leadership that has been voted on and approved, we need to really talk about what does our cadence look like for our next meetings, because I'd like to get at least 1.5 years worth of meetings for the main meetings on calendars, because they just fill up so quickly. So I'm wondering if there are certain days or times, and I don't want this to turn into an hour conversation, but if there are certain days or times that work better or don't work at all for folks, like Fridays. You know, if we're going to do maybe an in-person meeting, people might want to have that on a Friday so they could have some personal time in another town over the weekend. Other people are like, don't you dare schedule a Friday meeting with me because I'm done. It's a Friday. So I don't know if there are days of the week or if there are personal family schedules, anything that say, you know what, Wednesdays are out for me. But if there are, if we could figure that out real quickly, and then we can make the next step.
I'll just throw out the first Friday of the month doesn't work for me because I have standing appointments.
Tuesdays.
Go ahead.
Brooke, please.
I was just going to say Tuesdays are challenging for me and Mondays are challenging for me because I have a slew of back-to-backs that are weekly meetings on those 2 days.
Okay. Thursdays? Anybody have any issues with Thursdays? Watch, we'll do this and I'll have some kind of a big conflict on Thursdays and I'll make my own life miserable. I should have looked at my calendar actually. Well, how about, I'll just throw something out there for folks. What if we did, so this is the second Tuesday of the month. What if we did like the second Thursday of the month and we do these quarterly? Would there be any objection to doing that?
I'll say
I
that
can
would
do
actually
that.
work. That would work great for me because I have other obligations every second Tuesday already. So I missed out on a meeting today for this one. So yeah, second Thursdays would be fantastic. And I would also piggyback on the, if we could do the in-person on Friday, that's great because I have family over in on that side of the state. So makes the 8-hour drive a little nice.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I think then what we'll do is we'll get calendar invites sent out to you all. I guess the cadence, if we do it quarterly, it's July. So what is that? October, or January, April. So we'll look at dates. There may be conflicts just for holidays or other things going on, but we'll see what's going on. And if there's some major thing with HECC to where it's like, that's not going to work, we'll let you know and we'll readjust.
May I ask a question about scheduling and also the whatever sense of urgency there is about how quickly to stand up the overall work of the board? So in my particular job, I'm under emergency orders and everything is do it now, get it done now. In these early stages, will there be work performed and shared amongst us, say over email, or would there be value to meeting just with a little bit quicker cadence at the beginning to get things rolling? Is there a sense from the staff and yourself, Doug, on the urgency. And I guess also, Ashley, maybe directing this to you and your work in the office of the governor. We've heard from folks like this is a rich environment right now. Do we want to really stay in the midst of capturing good ideas and getting the process of the board spun up a little bit more quickly?
So I'm glad you're a co-chair, Jim, because you're like 2 bullets ahead of me all day today. No, it's awesome. So yes, if we can get the quarterly meetings and get that cadence on people's calendars. My next question was, should we try to set up a couple of meetings for the next 6 months in between those quarterly meetings, just so that we can get things moving and stay in motion? And maybe not everybody can attend those. Maybe that falls on a day where you have a different meeting, but if we could have them and hopefully have a quorum. If we start doing emails back and forth, a ton of them, I mean, we have to be cognizant of public meeting law when we have these discussions. So, so I'm not seeing anybody like shake their head no. I see some up and down nods. So then what we will do is we will, oh, go ahead, Belinda.
Yeah, I agree. Time is of the essence with some of the funding that can benefit all of these entities that we're trying to serve. So, always, willing to help out there. Now we can't lobby, so we can advocate and we can send folks as delegates and make sure that we take advantage of these opportunities that are there right now. So, I don't know how we would speed things up to, Jim's point, and Doug, also being very cognizant of we're a public board.
Yeah, I think what we can do is we can set it up. What we did when the pandemic hit with the OIC board, we started having monthly meetings and they were open to the public. But there was just so much going on. I mean, and so much confusion and uncertainty that we connected on a monthly basis for a good handful of months. Some could attend, some couldn't. So what we can do is we can get the main ones on there. We can also even do a monthly cadence for 6 months if we want, and folks can attend or not attend, depending on what their schedule is. But it's just, I think, Belinda, it's just a matter of us getting the invites out to you and getting it on people's calendars.
Thank you.
You are making me happy. We're cooking right along. We're getting some decisions made. Life's going to be much easier for the next meeting. Okay. With the co-chair's permission, I'd like to move into looking at the action plan and just going over that. It ties in kind of directly with having more frequent meetings rather than just quarterly. It nods. All right. So put together an action plan. Julia asked me to put it together. We've been visiting about, what do you think on the timelines and goals and visions and deadlines? And so we were just kind of having casual conversations. And she's like, would you put that like in something a little more formal so that she could have it for the governor's office, or she could have it, to share with the rest of the executive team. And so this is the document I put together. Again, this is a fluid document. It doesn't have to stay this way. This was just kind of what my initial thoughts were as far as what timelines would look like. We can up this a little bit because I think from what I'm hearing, if we do have monthly meetings, we can get more done in the first 3 months than what's on here. But really, I think the big chunks or the big breaks in the work are we've got basically the onboarding. That started today. It's going to continue. There's how does a bill become a law type trainings. There's the conflict of interest trainings. There's a lot that needs to be discussed. And to Belinda and Jim's point, we also need to get moving and not just talk but do. So that's what this document is. It was created, I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago, and it's a it's just kind of a placeholder. But I think if you all would like to use it and build on it, we can plan out the next 6 months and see what this really looks like. And I could certainly would be more happy to work with the co-chairs to tweak this around a little bit and make it more aggressive. But again, the big chunks would be kind of that onboarding piece. The next piece would be really digging into some of the strategic framework, a lot of it around imperative number 5, which we're going to talk about in a minute. Then really that partnership building, that awareness building. Jim, I think this is where a lot of your expertise will come in too, because it's quite impressive what you've put together with your current program in such a short amount of time, and the amount of outreach. And it's just amazing that you've been able to move that quickly. So that'll kind of be the next big bucket. And also, you know, making some presentations. I would hope this board would present to the higher education coordinating the actual commission. Would like to work closely with the Workforce and Talent Development Board, which is the state's workforce board that advises the governor on workforce policy. And then I think, you know, kind of long term, it's that monitoring and evaluation and where we're at, holding folks accountable and making sure that we're spending our money where we should be. So that's just, those are the big chunks. But if the co-chairs are good with it, I would love to put a separate meeting together and just talk about making it just, I guess, more aggressive. Aggressive is really kind of a negative word sometimes, but in this case, it's positive.
I am good with that. Thank you.
Ditto.
Well, then with the co-chairs, agree, we'll move to the next step, and we will be finished early, I think. But it would be move into a conversation about the strategic framework. So I'm going to pull it up just on my own screen, so I've got it. I can do my own scrolling. I'll block all your faces out here for just a minute. Sorry. So I think, you know, a large part of this board's work is going to be in this focus area number 5. And so the strategic framework is something that we as staff put together that makes sense for us where we stand right now. This was built to be a starting point for you all. My hope is that the strategic plan is driven by this group and that staff are included, but that you will drive this. And I think number 5 is where a lot of that work is, and it's the understanding and maintaining engagement with youth workforce system across Oregon, doing that alignment, creating awareness and support, you know, trying to figure out the funding issues. That'll drive 1, 2, 3, and 4, but 1, 2, 3, and 4 will also help determine where number 5 is and where that lands. So Jim, you were talking about, you know, the barriers, and absolutely, I mean, we want to eliminate the barriers and disparities to access. We want to try to support a broad spectrum of programs. We want to make sure that that folks that traditionally have been left behind have an opportunity to receive services in one of these programs. So this is not set in stone. This is something we put together. We needed something to stand on before this board was being stood up. So it really gets a baton pass off to you all. And, you know, within all these objectives, there's all kinds of work stuff that goes on, you know, with staff, which it makes it too cluttered of a document to want to even share. But this was a good starting spot. I think when we start these monthly meetings, we go here. I mean, we'll do some training stuff too, but this is really where I see the bulk of your work. So I wasn't thinking that we could go into any kind of deep conversations about it today. It's a lot to kind of think about. We've already thought about a lot of things today, but it's out here. I wanted to share it. I would love just any initial reactions or comments. I'd say please go for that right now. What I do see is that we'll probably be meeting virtually at least 3 times a year. The in-betweeners will definitely be virtually. I'd like to have a once a year in person. I'd like to have it on site. I'd like to be able to do a site visit. I think there's so much knowledge and understanding and connection that happens when you can actually get your feet on the ground and talk with young people. We're trying to figure out the budget for that because that wasn't really a budget item for us. So we're working on that. But I can also see that being, if folks' schedules allow, more of a 2-day event rather than a 1-day. And if it's on Thursday and runs into Friday, I mean, that's just kind of really nice for folks if they want to do other things. But would really like to have somebody come in and help facilitate this discussion and take it to the next level. So I'll stop there and just see if there are any comments.
I'm excited to get started. I think this all looks really great and it's a good framework for us to hit the ground running, I feel like.
Nice.
And I'm also wondering how we, with our different areas of work, might be able to be one of those site visits and bring folks together and share what we've got going on in our own worlds, as well as seeing new opportunities.
Yeah, and I think, just to wrap it up a little, and kind of go back to those 3 bullets of what is the purpose of this board. The alignment and making sure there's access is huge. The first step in alignment was the creation of this board. Step number 2 is in play right now. We are drafting a legislative concept that will move the 3 statutorily mandated programs under one chapter of law, because right now we're in workforce, we're in the state fire marshal, and we're in child welfare. So we want to bring those all under 660. And as soon as we're done with this call, Miranda and I are going to be proofreading a ledge concept final draft that needs to be turned in today. So we're going to put that forth for the 2025 legislative session. Then over the next year, with this board and the body of work that you all take on, we will probably go into the 2027 legislative session that will look at real total alignment, and likely it'll modify or expand, may combine programs. I don't know what that looks like, but those are some of the discussions we'll be working through when we talk about alignment, and just so that timeline, so you understand kind of what that timeline is. I mentioned earlier that we started the conversations for this board in the fall of 2021. And it seems funny, but it takes that long for the planning process to go through all the right steps to get to turn in a legislative concept or a budget policy package. So there's that piece of it. There's the sustainable funding piece. I mean, we need a new plan. What we're doing is beating our heads on the wall and finding ourselves stressed out because we don't have the funding that the programs need. And we know the need, we see the need, we hear the need, and there's just not enough money. And I'm not throwing, darts at anybody. I would hate to be in the governor's position. I would hate to be on her chief financial office position, because everybody has these great programs and these great projects, and they have to balance the budget. That's their job. And so they have these tough decisions to make. And I would hate for it to be me. I'd probably never take the job, actually. But I mean, for us, it hurts. The $10 million hurts. The true inflationary costs hurt. So there's a lot of conversation and work to be done there. And I don't know what that even means yet, but I know it means that we quit trying to do the same thing over and over and over again, and just we're seeing the same results. So we need to figure out how to be more effective in that whole process. Anything else? Yes, Belinda.
Yeah, Doug, I know it's always a shell game with the feds. However, I do know that the money is flowing out there right now. And for Lomacotsi, we've been a nonprofit for 30 years next year. And we're right now tying up agreements with the Forest Service, with the Department of Interior. And then for the Indian Youth Service Corps, it's also the Department of Commerce that has the mandate that they can sign agreements for Indian Youth Service Corps programs. However, saying that, I just know that to leverage Department of Labor funding right now to look at those grants, and I don't know if the state needs to, you know, what their process is, but those grants are out there right now as we speak. I know that private philanthropy is really interested in these youth programs, especially for the underserved, underrepresented tribal nations and Latinx communities. And with Justice 40 rolling out federally, we fit in those communities. And even the urban forestry, I know ODF has a sizable grant going out right now that's hitting the streets, also for this training and workforce development for the underrepresented communities that has to abide by Justice 40. So I know there are opportunities. It's how nimble we are to be able to adapt and get ourselves in a position that's more favorable. And Oregon has done some amazing work. I mean, we've been on the front lines in a lot of years in prevention, and I think that we could do this. I believe that.
I appreciate that, and I wholeheartedly agree with you. And I think, you know, within our office now, we have the capacity. We have a large enough staff to pull some of these things off, to write more grants, to manage more grants. It's no longer a two-person show. So I think you're absolutely right, Linda. And you mentioned, you know, the agility and working with the feds. We've had a long-lasting relationship with the Department of the Interior, with the Bureau of Land Management. We're still working on a grant agreement with them right now. It gets tricky for us because what we don't want to do is we don't want to find ourselves in a position where we're competing with, say, Lomacotsi for federal funding. So we have to be just very open about the conversations and what does that mean. If we can help leverage or support, that's great. If we need to stand back, I think for Lomacotzi's sake or other providers, we need to understand that too. I mean, we shouldn't get territorial over those funds. But you're right, there are a ton of funds, and for a state agency, it's a dog and pony show to get permission to apply. And it has to go through either Ways and Means, the co-chairs of Ways and Means, or it goes through an emergency board hearing just to get the permission to apply. And there's a process called the 10-day letter, which is really now a 15-day letter. And it's maddening. I mean, we can do it. We've done it. But just because you brought up, you know, are we nimble? We certainly aren't as nimble as you are. And I don't think that we have the experience as an agency, at least this part of it, that you all do at Lomacotsi working with the feds. So looking forward to just being educated a little bit myself on that.
Thank you, Doug.
All right, I'm gonna look at the chat real quick.
I'm gonna add one more. Belinda, thank you so much for that. This is gonna be great. I can't wait to, like, when can we all get together in person? Just figure this out. This is thrilling. Doug, data. So you said we've got staffing, so beware. My question is, we can create partnerships and we create funding opportunities and we can create connectivity with great stories, right? We've all got great stories. Whatever we're coming from, we've got great stories, but we defend the stories with really, really strong data, and we can defend the strong return on an investment with data. You know, the story gets somebody to open up the data book to really lock that in, but also the need, right? So as we're hearing funding is being cut, what's the data to show the true and honest downstream impacts of that loss? Because you have built a system, you have built integration into communities and opportunity, and by taking that away, there is not just a dollar loss. There are sometimes $4, $5, and $10 lost in that investment pull away. So do you have a collective of data already in existence or being brought together? And can or will this board drive some requests for or collection of data that can answer some of the, be preemptive, can be, to Belinda's point, out there looking for additional grant funds, avoiding these cutbacks, and showing, because I always believe that $1 invested in a kid is $8 of a return on investment in the community. So that's my little combination question and shout out at the moment.
Yeah, so no, I appreciate that. I hope you appreciate my answer. We've danced around a lot with the data, and what are we collecting? Are we collecting the same data as across all of our programs? I mean, there are some that need to collect specific data due to the funding, like the Oregon Conservation Corps. I mean, we need to know acres and number of sites treated, and we have to know what part of the rating of the wildland urban interface and the fire risk. We have to know those things. That doesn't apply to the Oregon Youth Employment Program at all. So there are those different data pieces that are very unique, but we have been working on trying to align our data. We've even started talking with partners over at Youth Development Oregon. They put out youth grants as well. They really started focusing on re-engagement of youth. That was kind of their path. They learned that one great model for that re-engagement happens to be youth workforce development. So they're also putting out some grants. We're talking with them to make sure that we're leveraging and not duplicating. I mean, and that's a silo issue we are starting to talk about. So one thing that was interesting was that I got to attend a site visit that Jeremy had put together. It was up in Hood River, and we went to the Next Door Inc. And then there was a school as well, 2 schools actually. I didn't attend all of those, but in just listening to the conversations, here we were, 2 different agencies. We have 5 grant programs. They have, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 grant programs, with a couple of them going to the Next Door. And we're all asking them for data, and it's somewhat the same data. And so it was really eye-opening for me to just listen and hear some brainstorming around how do we work with our other agencies, our partner agencies, because maybe we can pull the data from them, and that, folks in Hood River aren't putting out 6 reports for very similar work and very similar outcomes. So I think there's a lot of work to be done there. Yeah, Miranda just put in the chat, we're talking about collecting impact stories. We're looking at budgeting for things such as videos. So the conversations are there, but I think to answer another part of your question, is there an opportunity for you all to request certain data that you can use to leverage conversations? Please do.
Data day.
I would just echo Jim's comments around an integrated system that is tracking things. I mean, a system that all talks to each other across the workforce. I mean, we've had many conversations about this in many different places, but the ability to have one integrated system that is talking to each other in a way that helps support the individual would be vitally beneficial. We have so many silos that both programs that aren't talking to each other that we can't actually build the narrative a lot of times to show that, like, somebody did this program here and then that led to a program 3 years later here, and now their career is here, right? Like, we don't have anything that does that today. And I think we're missing the ability to really be able to effectuate that in a meaningful way. Even if they're, involved in WEO or whatever, if they leave that system, there's no, follow-up. I will get off my soapbox.
I say preach it. I mean, as staff, we've been preaching it for a long time of trying to figure out where this all needs to land. And I think that's a voice too. I mean, when we go to the legislature, we go to the governor's office, we'll explain how that all works in the flow to make a budget for us at some other later point. But when we have those asks, we're just asking for basically a new computer system. If we have advocates such as you with that voice and explaining why that data is so important, and here are the impacts and how that would be helpful too. I don't know what that strategy is, but I think I like what I'm hearing on this call. Yes, our team is also discussing how we collect our data. I don't think so. I don't know, Brian, on your question in the chat. I don't know if she has or not. Miranda may have seen them, but I don't know if the rest of our staff have.
I just wanted to just kind of go back to like the data and stuff. Now that we have been doing our Nature's Greatest Strength camp and our Libres con Amigos, which our Libres con Amigos is funded by the state and everything through OIC. Okay, every time I can't remember. I'm gonna have to make a cheat sheet. But my point being is that now that we're in our 4th year, now we have kiddos that started the camp, like they were like, you know, the first 10, they're now camp counselors because now they're in high school. And then we have now, maybe that was their first job, but now they're doing SEP, or maybe their brother did SEP and now they're out in the U.S. Forest Service. And so what we're trying to do is trying to track those kids as they go from being a camper to a camp counselor to what's the next job that they're going to get. So just stuff like that. And so really showing even that it's not just that we're serving these kiddos, but then it's a full circle. They turn around and they come back and they're like, I did this when I was a kid. I enjoyed this. This helped me. Now I'm a camp counselor and I can help other kids. And so it just becomes like a great circle of like helping. It's amazing. I love it. And I think if we can show things like that, hopefully, maybe that will help funding and them seeing like people understanding like this is the right kind of, you know, when they always say like a vicious circle, but this is the right one, not the bad one. I don't know what the right one is. Is it like I don't know. It's good. But yeah, it would just be nice, like, yeah, if we could do something like that where we can track. And we even have some kids that have been part of the foster system that did summer youth employment program with the U.S. Forest Service, but then moved to a different county and did it again. But they wouldn't know that. And that is, and I think that's another huge thing where it's like, wait a minute, like, that's a connection. Like, that's amazing. So.
Oops, looks like you muted yourself.
Sorry.
You got too excited. You hit the mute
I do,
button.
and then I move around. I tell you, it's my
It's the space bar. I am also a hand talker and I do it all the time to myself. It's the space bar.
That's awesome. But yeah, I'm just like, it would just be nice to be able to show that in some way. And I know that's a really big ask because it takes a lot to do something like that. But yeah, it would be amazing because I think that it would really, I think it would be a better way to show numbers. I think right now you have a list, we put it down. It's the best that, you know, you're doing the best that you can. But the reality is that I think there's a lot more connections than we even realize. So anyways, I'll be quiet now.
I appreciate it. And it's a tall order. This whole conversation really is a pretty tall order, but I think we've got to start the conversations and we've got to approach it, you know, in a holistic way that we haven't been able to do before. So yeah, Jim. Oopsie, now you're silenced now.
See, I've got what I call the belly button because every time I hit it with my belly, anyway. Does anybody on the board currently actively represented on any national coalitions or think tank? I had to put it in the chat so I remember. If not, can and should we have that kind of outreach and connection? Because I noticed with as just personal history with the work of career connected learning by engaging with the National Coalition for Career Development, which I think is completely appropriate and applicable to the work that we're talking about here for this particular group of humans and the age range that we're working in. Having that national outlook, because we can deny it, but we are in competition with other states, both for funding and for elevating promising projects and programs. And so how might we also be not just a face of Oregon, but then represent Oregon more broadly in a national conversation?
Yeah, and Jim, I don't know, and I don't know if that was even meant to be more of a rhetorical question, just to put out there for folks to think about too.
I do wonder, is there an exclusion or a you may not or cannot as an advisory board? Is that pathway even open to us? I think is the core question.
I don't know why it wouldn't be allowed. I mean, we can do a little bit of research, but I think it would be fine. And Belinda, did you have a comment for Jim?
Just to say, for Lomacotsi, we just became a member of the core network. I saw Jeff Parker on here earlier, also a member of the core network. We are developing white papers for the Indian Youth Service Corps. So it comes under the Conservation Service Corps, Civilian Climate Corps regulation, the Dingle Act. So I don't know how many are familiar with that. However, that is a national network that we're currently a part of. And then also pursuing accreditation for apprenticeship. So accreditation for this core network, and then apprenticeship under the Department of Labor for a year-long program. And we're the first here for the Indian Youth Service Corps for Region 6 with the Forest Service. So again, I think that, you know, I don't know if there's any stipulations about that, but I know being part of the core network is really advantageous for us.
Yeah, and thanks for bringing them up. I mean, there are grantees that we work with and help support that are our members. When it comes to like us as an agency, we're considered a partner. We're not considered, because we don't provide the direct service, but we can certainly partner and attend trainings and you know, help leverage or help brainstorm. But yeah, I mean, and they put on a great annual conference every year, bringing in a lot of people. I know, I'm pretty sure you were there, Belinda. I know some other folks that were there, so. Skills USA. Nice, Brett. Well, there's a little radio silence. I think it might be time for me to turn it over to the co-chairs to close out. I do want to again say thank you, you know, for your time and your enthusiasm and your drive for this work. And I also want to give a big shout out for our youth team. Like I said earlier, we've come a long way. And, you know, even just the preparation for this meeting, or the trainings that they're putting on, or the work that they're doing, and the collaboration that's taking place internally and externally with our other partners and other state agencies is exploding. And so they deserve a shout out. I don't know that they'll get a shout out very often for that work, but they're kicking butt. So I just wanted to say that. And I'll close with that and turn it over to Jim and Brooke.
Go ahead, Jim.
I'm at a loss for words.
I'm just gonna say yay. Super excited.
Yes. Doug, and to honor you and thank you for all this amazing work. We know what you and all of the team there have been doing to make this a possibility. So thank you for that. And thank you to you. And I think all of us could say, we've got a friend in Doug.
You couldn't resist, could you?
I couldn't. I had to.
Could not. You've probably been holding that back for
90 minutes.
All right. Well, the ball's in your court, or whatever you would like to do with the rest of this meeting, or close her out.
Open for any questions, comments, Ashley?
Oh, I just saw in the chat that Hillary had asked if we want our next meeting to be on August 8th.
Thank you. I am a fan of that, if others are.
I will be out of town, but you guys can feel free to meet without me for the next meeting to get things moving.
That's why the whole co-chair model is so nice. You
Sounds good.
You just proved the point.
For those work sessions, Doug and team, do you have an idea or a board? Do you have an hour, 90 minutes, 2 hour time frame? What feels best for being effective with the time that we get together?
I think we'll have to kind of sit on and think on that.
Okay.
And if you all would think on that too, because we want it to be productive, but we also want to be respectful of people's time.
Right.
But I have a feeling that this group will keep on task. So I don't have an answer. I don't know if any of the other team members want to chime in on that.
To you, Belinda?
All I was wondering is, do we need to make a motion to revise the bylaws to accept the co-chairs?
Probably wouldn't hurt. I would say revise the draft bylaws.
Okay, then I would make a motion to revise the draft bylaws to include co-chair designation.
I second that. That work?
All right,
So-
Jim or Brooke, this is your show.
All those in favor, raise a hand or say aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Just for planning purposes, Doug and team, someone will send out a hold on those dates for us, and then, okay, fabulous. Thank you.
Yep, look for
Okay.
something probably coming from Ashley.
Fabulous. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Well, happy day, everybody. To a prosperous journey for all of us and for our youth in this state.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thanks, everybody.
Till next time. Bye-bye.